Hi, I'm Petra. That's what.
Hey, Petra.
What does it mean to be a spiritual person in the midst of the craziness of our, just our life these days? Whether it's raising children, going to work, having to deal with the pandemic, or our political situation.
Really practical ways to tap into spirituality. Science of Mind has done that for me, and I'm excited to be doing this work with Oscar and Petra to show you how you can get into your own spiritual ebb and flow and and say what? Live the life that you really want to live.
We're going to put hot topics, current events like meditation, law of attraction, and manifestation, all this stuff that you have questions about, that I have questions about. We're going to spin the wheel, and then wherever it lands is what we're going to talk about that day.
So we'll hope you'll join us on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. for Say What on YouTube Live.
And here we are, yay! Welcome to Say What? I'm Oscar, we got Dr. Petra, and we got the gorgeous Shakera, and we're so happy that you're with us this afternoon. Petra's gonna kick us off today. What do you want to talk about, Petra?
Okay, well, so I just got a call from my son and daughter-in-law. They have a 7-year-old in school, and she has long hair. I used to have long hair when I was that little. Shakera, have you had long hair your whole life? Like when you were little, did you have long hair? Yep. Okay, so they got a call from school because their daughter did what I'm sure you did and I did, which is she got a bubblegum pop stuck in her hair.
Oh, no.
Yeah. All twisted up in there. Oh, my God, and I can remember those days. I can remember 2 or 3 times going to the principal's office and then being sent to the nurse's office with gum in my hair and, whatever. Snip, 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 back into class. Oh, no. Oh, no. The school has to call the parents. The parents have to come in and cut it out themselves. And they're like, what? Can't we just give you permission? No. We cannot take scissors to your child's hair. No, you have to come in and cut it out. Okay, so I know there's only one reason for that. And the reason for that is because they're terrified of being sued for some reason or other. Right. I mean, granted, you can't take a boy with locks and tell him he has to cut his hair so he can wrestle, right? He should put it back, right? Great. But from there to we can't cut bubblegum out of your daughter's hair if you've given us permission over the phone. The reach is so far. They're so entirely different situations.
Right.
And the only reason they're not doing it is because they're afraid of being sued. And there's so many decisions and so many things that are done or not done, in the cover your ass kind of situation. And that we're liable. So we better, we have to. And so some of that then bleeds over into truthfully what I think is a ridiculous sensitivity of political correctness that I'm afraid I'm going to be sued, or it's just complete, well, I'm just not going to be politically correct. So I don't care. I'm just going to say whatever I want. Right. And again, the extremes are they're so far apart and it has to do, it has to do with this. Well, I'm just going to sue. And so even today, I just saw that something yesterday that, governors are suing the federal government. Senators are suing governors. Governors are suing the election board. It's as if going to a lawsuit is the only way to really get your, because there's everybody, I don't know, either everybody believes they're right or everybody's afraid of losing a suit. It just makes no sense to me. It's completely nonsense. So a couple of years ago, we were in Europe. We had bid on and won a flat in Montpellier, France, some friends of mine and I. Beautiful 18th century flat in the walking part of town. It was fabulous vacation. And in this little town, there's the historic district. And they have trolleys, right? They have like the DART or the BART or wherever, high-speed train, not high speed, but trains, public transportation. And so there's this part of the square where all these trains are coming in and they're passing over towards a big station, the main station, which is then the main train station, right? And some other lines are coming in from over here. It's kind of a hub. And all of those lines are in the street. All the rails are in the street. There are no guardrails. It's just in the street. And you walk down the street or you walk down the sidewalk. I mean, it's part of the end of the plaza. So it's big and open and there's shops here and shops there. And there's the train station there. And they figure you're an adult enough to actually look and see if a train is coming. There's no guardrails. There's no crosswalks. There's nothing. There's nothing. And people stand there and they look to see if a train is coming and then they walk across. I mean, it's like, hello.
Oh.
And and of course, that would never happen in the United States because, oh my God, what if we get sued because somebody didn't look and they get run over by a train? Well, if you don't look, really, that's what taking responsibility means. And I was struck there at the juxtaposition of that to, we cannot cut the gum out of your child's hair unless you do it. You can't just give us permission. I will write you a text. This is her mother. I say it's okay. No, somebody, so the grandparent who happens to live really close, husband just came out of surgery. The grandparent has to go over for 10 minutes, cut the gum out of the hair so she doesn't lose out on school and then go back. And it's all because what? We're afraid of being sued. And because we as a culture have decided somebody else is responsible. Somebody else is responsible for this. Well, they should have put a sign up. Well, you could have used your brain. Well, they should have put a sign up. Well, you could have looked.
Yeah.
They should have, I mean, it is. And so so when we talk about spirituality, we're not talking about pie in the sky spirituality. We're not talking about Pollyannish spirituality. We're talking about spirituality that makes sense and that you can actually use in your life, right? And some of that is just common sense. Actually, your life works better if you are loving towards people than hateful. This is not rocket science.
Yeah.
And this whole liability thing, that how afraid of liability we have become, and how people, I don't know what that is. They count on the fact that you're afraid of liability, so I don't have to take responsibility, or why should I have taken a responsibility? It was your fault. And of course, in our spirituality, we don't do fault and blame. We do take responsibility. Now, the other side of that coin is, of course, there are companies that take advantage of that. And there are companies that, sometimes the only thing that they'll pay attention to is when they get hit in the pocketbook, right, which is what a suit does, right? But it has to actually be something about something real, something actually real, and actually that isn't just a lack of common sense or a lack of, and the idea that we can either legislate the way people are conscious, we can either legislate in such a way that people would behave consciously, or that we can do it through the courts. But where is it that we teach people to be people of character and cultivate responsibility and cultivate care for others and cultivate, right? Our education system is get a job. I'm going to teach you how to get a job. But I don't care about your character. I don't care about, whether what you're thinking really makes sense. I'm just going to teach you how to get a job. And that whole idea that education is to educate the heart and the mind and to teach you how to engage in life, sort of regardless of what you're, whether you're a musician or accountant or a teacher or a lawyer, it leaves me speechless, but I have, of course, talked for 5 minutes about it.
Not speechless at all.
I love it.
But it's like, what in the world? And then we fall into that whole, that's where then too, people are PC because they're afraid of being sued, not because they've actually embraced a different way of looking at it. Right? Or they are, or they just, in the face of it, don't give a shit, and they're not going to do it because they're going to prove that they're not afraid of you suing them.
Right.
And neither one of which actually addresses the question or the issue. It's all about whether or not I'm getting sued or not, which is not actually the point. The point isn't to not get sued. The point is actually to do the right thing, right? Or have a company that does the right thing for the employees or the stakeholders or the people who are shopping there or the customers or whomever there, that happens to be engaged. So what is up with that? What is up with that? That is what I don't understand.
I mean, we see it in politics a lot, how like even the most ridiculous things, if they just say, well, we're going to sue over it, somehow it's suing has become like a PR spin to somehow give credibility to ridiculous non-legal stances.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's like, but they're suing over it, so there must be some standing. And it's like, not really, because what they're counting on is that people aren't going to keep up with the lawsuit. When the judge says this is absolute garbage and ridiculous, it has no legal standing, they're counting on people to not see that ruling. They just want to see that, they're being sued, therefore we're in the right.
Right. They must be wrong because we're suing them.
So it's become like a PR spin for some companies and some politicians, unfortunately.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Shakera?
Thing.
Can you hear us? What do you think?
That is crazy. Oh no, I just think that's crazy. And it can y'all hear me?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So yeah, I'm just thinking it's just crazy. This mic has been giving me problems. I swear I'm probably gonna have to get a new mic. But yeah, I'm reminded of hearing about how that happens in the medical industry when you have well-to-do OBGYNs that are out here taking care of people and their children and getting sued because there are mothers that don't take responsibility for their pregnancies going the right way. Mm-hmm. I mean, my mother-in-law, or mother-in-love, as I affectionately call her, she had to go through that. And it got her to a place where she was just scared to do her work, to really give the way that she could give her gift. And I think about how that affects those companies that do stand for something great, that do stand for something that reaches us in so many different ways, that touches our lives in different ways. And in a school environment where you are sending your kids to school and trust that they're surrounded by people that care about them, that people that want to see them do well and be taken care of, and then they feel handicapped by what's going on in the world, that they can't be all of themselves. That's, right. I'm just taking it all in, Petra.
Did you ever get hair gum or something stuck in your hair when you were in elementary school?
My worst experience with gum was one that was self-inflicted, and it was not in school. It was actually during my sleep, getting gum, going to sleep with gum in my mouth and then waking up with gum in my hair. Yeah, that was the worst that I experienced with gum. Right. I mean, nobody ever put anything in my hair, and I never had like a lollipop get stuck or anything like that. But yeah, you go to sleep with gum, you wake up with gum.
Gum in your, yeah. Well, that's my experience. Is it's almost always self-inflicted, right? Mm-hmm. For me, I used to have long hair, right, and I would chew on it. I would chew on a corner of the hair. The only problem was that I guess apparently at one point I forgot. I was on recess. You weren't allowed to have gum in the classroom, but I was on recess, so I was surreptitiously having my little piece of gum. I was being a rebel in second grade. And I was chewing on my hair for whatever reason. And I forgot I had gum in it. And I literally chewed the gum into the hair. Like, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And it was like, oh my God. And, honest to God, what am I want to say? The lady out on the playground, she wasn't quite sure. So she sent me to the principal's office. The lady behind the desk look at me, and she said, "Oh no, just have the nurse. Just go to the nurse. She'll cut it out." Really? I mean, it took all of 3 minutes. I went to the nurse, and she said, "Oh, honey, it's okay. We've all done it." And she took a big hunk of my hair and went, "Okay, bye."
Yeah, common sense.
Yeah,
pretty much, right?
How lovely.
Pretty much common sense. And and it's the lack thereof, I think, that is so. I mean, is it really difficult to see the difference between that and somebody taking somebody out of a tournament that they're in the middle of, so they've already done all kinds of sports, and say, you can't continue competing with your locks. We're going to shave them off, cut them off. I mean, there's no comparison.
There's no comparison.
They have nothing really to do with each other.
Yeah.
And it's that lack of common sense. Well, and of course and then the inability for the nurse to actually take responsibility.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a no-brainer. Just cut it out. Or if you have to, call the parents, hey, we got to cut it out. So we're just letting you know. Any problem with that? Oh, no, please go. It's not, and I think that's the other side of it. Either people not willing to take responsibility, being afraid, or being hampered from taking responsibility.
Right.
And our spirituality teaches all of that. Common sense, making choices, taking responsibility. And yet the knee-jerk reaction is, well, I'm just going to sue over it.
This kind of reminds me a little bit of cancel culture, doesn't it, for you, Shakera? I mean, there's like a little bit of, I can hear like tinges of it in cancel culture as well. It's just like, well, let's just not have the conversation. Let's just completely cancel them and just cut them out forever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's very similar to that. It's like not taking the responsibility to discover the truth and find out what is actually going on, but let's just cancel them completely, or cancel everything completely and just go home.
Right.
Yeah, it's like complete misuse of groupthink mentality. It is complete misuse of that. To take that and then take advantage of it, and then to do it for no reason, to cause harm to an organization that doesn't call for that type of attention. It doesn't call for that particular action. So. Yeah. I agree with you.
Yeah, because how many times have we seen people or organizations or people be canceled over a misunderstanding, and then when the truth finally comes out and they've showed the receipts and people are like, not everyone has egg on their face. It's like, there was so much anger and so much vitriol and so much toxicity over a misunderstanding, over just a really bad PR spin. Like, people saw it one way, but the truth was over here. They just couldn't get to it because they just automatically threw insults and canceled whatever it was. You know what I mean? Like, so it happened so many times, and yet we're still doing it. We're still canceling left and right. It's very strange.
Well, it's also a complete inability to walk in somebody else's shoes for a minute, right? The assumption is absolutely everything they're doing is wrong. And this happened in a conversation that I had not too long ago, and somebody was talking about, well, can you believe that person said that and did that in that situation, and and I can't believe it, and I feel so and as the situation was being described, I could feel and I could understand how you could feel so but on the other hand, given the situation and how it was discussed and what I know about this person, I could actually see what might have motivated that other person to say no, or we can't do it that way, or look, we really have to, or and all we do is get offended.
Right.
We just become offended. We just automatically assume that whatever way I think about it and whatever my position is, it's obviously right. Therefore, and I don't like what you're doing, so therefore you're wrong. And then the hard part is when that turns into, and you're a bad person.
Yeah.
No, I vilify you.
Yeah.
No, I vilify you in some way. You're intending to be bad. You're intending to be evil. You're doing this on purpose somehow. You're a bad person. And I haven't really thought about maybe what it's like to be in your shoes and how you're experiencing this situation. And I think it's that truth, right? The perspectives, the truth that comes out that begins to, and it could be that there's truth on both sides. But then you see it's not just a one-sided story. There's other things that are going on.
Yeah.
When I was in a communication class years and years and years ago, they talked about a exercise they used to do in Japanese elementary school. I have no idea whether they still do it now, because this was back in the 80s. It's a beautiful communications class I took. And they shared an exercise called pillow talk that was used in Japanese elementary schools when there was a conflict. And so, little Johnny and, little Jim, or I can't make up Japanese names. Sorry. I realized, okay, we're not going to go there. That's not going to work. Okay. So anyway, they're having a sandbox fight or whatever. Right. And so they literally get a pillow. They put a pillow between the two of them. And then they say, okay, this is your side and this is my side. Right. So you take your side and you say my side. Great. Okay. Now that you've each said your sides, now this pillow has other sides and has corners. So this side over here, this is what you think the other person is saying. This side over here is what they think you, and so then you do that. Now, this side up here is what you think the people around you are saying. This side down here is what you think the people at home would say about all of this. Now, let's turn it around to the corners. This corner here is what I think you think about me in this situation. That corner is what you think I think about you. I mean, it was such an exploration of being able to hear and see how the other person's reality, whatever their reality was, is just as real to them as my reality is to me.
Yeah.
Right. And to actually see all of that begins to bring out that it's, everything isn't just one-sided. Yeah.
That also goes back to what I learned from you, Petra, is that stop telling stories about things. About emotions or feel it's an emotion, it's a feeling. See that it's there, acknowledge it's there, but stop telling stories about it. Stop narrating all this stuff around it, and then it becomes this giant thing in your head when it was nothing. It's just an emotion. Let it go.
Right. I got my feelings hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, that person, they're not a nice person because they hurt my feelings.
Exactly.
They always hurt my feelings.
And here comes the stories. Yeah.
Right.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
So I think we need to take a lot more responsibility for our stories. We need to make a lot more responsibility for our choices. We need to take a lot more responsibility for our lives and stop thinking somehow it's going to be legislated or it's going to be handled by some courtroom, like some legal thing.
Right.
Granted, there is that 10%. Yes, absolutely. It is absolutely necessary. No question about it. But there feels like there's a whole lot of middle ground in there that it's just crazy.
Yeah. Do you feel like this is a recent thing, or has it always been around, this sort of impulse to vilify another point of view that doesn't necessarily gel with our own? Has it always been happening, or is it happening more frequently in 2021?
Well, it started in the biblical tradition, so it's been around a very long time.
Yeah.
So, right? I mean, and that's how what you did. You vilified the other tribe's God. My God's bigger than your God. And I prove it because I beat you. So that means my God beat your God. And then you vilify the other, right? That's embedded in our Judeo-Christian culture. And we must root it out, because it does show up in so many different ways. It shows up in racism. It shows up in suing people. It shows up in but I do think that there's more, it has really moved. Well, I mean, as long as I can remember, there's been mudslinging in politics.
Right.
But it does feel as though in the last 5 years, it's gotten more hateful. And it's no longer just in the ads. People are now willing to say it.
Yeah.
And followers of people are willing to throw it in each other's faces. And that feels new. But I think it's been a part of our culture for thousands of years.
Right.
At least in the Western tradition. I don't know how it might be in the Eastern traditions or in the African tradition. It's definitely in the Western culture.
Yeah.
Just, because that's how you make yourself, that's how you keep people in your religious framework, is you make everything be that something that God said. And if you don't do it, and if you're outside of that, you're now outside of God.
Right.
And now that's way worse than actually being outside. It's even worse than being outside of your group. It's even more intense. You're outside of anything that God accepts, which is of course nonsense. But and so the other becomes vilified. I mean, that's why there's the snake in the Adam and Eve story. It was to vilify the fertility goddess traditions, and why the priestesses of the temples were called prostitutes. And all of that was intended to create, and why homosexuality and the different things in those biblical stories, man can't put a seed all over the ground. All of those were in to keep people, to make all of that which was obviously going on wrong, because we're us and they're them. And what we do is sanctioned by God, and all of that therefore is wrong. And if you go do that, we don't just say it's bad. We say it's bad, but we don't just say it's bad. But now God says it's bad. Oh, no, right? And so you just ascribe it to God as if God had an opinion about it.
Yeah. How interesting.
And so it's embedded in our culture, and we keep seeing it resurface and resurface and resurface and resurface in lots of different iterations and ways, and right. And we're continuing to work it out. And all the civil rights movements are all in seeking to grow the idea that there is actually no them.
Wow.
There isn't a them.
Yeah.
It's all us, right? We're all human beings.
Right.
Oh my God, I love it.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God, I love that. I almost don't want to go to the wheel because I want to keep talking about it. But there's so much.
It's all right. It's wheel time.
All
wheel
right,
time.
1 and the 2 and the 3. What does that say? Relationships.
Oh.
Can be platonic, can be friendships, can be romantic, all sorts of relationships. Anything and all things relationships. I'll start with something that's been that I've just been contemplating, is this idea that we have to normalize the idea that it's okay for friendships to grow apart. Like it's not, there's no shame or blame or judge. You shouldn't, like, it's because I see it all the time in adult friendships, and it's like, it's okay that you've grown, you become different people, and it's okay to let go. And there doesn't have to be drama or any sort of negative or animosity, and nothing to it. It's just you've grown apart, and that's okay. And you can still wish each other well, and that's it. but it's not. It's weird that, like, I feel like with a lot of people in our generation, there's always like, oh, there has to be drama attached, or there's like, oh, something must have happened. It's like, nothing happened. We just grew apart, and that's perfectly fine. So that's something that seems odd to me, that's not normalized, that it's weird, it's considered weird or wrong even. What do you think, Shakera?
in our traditions, when you're, ending anything, you end it with love and blessings. You bless it always. So it doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be just what it is, and then people go their separate ways. They have their own journeys. You acknowledge that the journey is different, and if you cross paths again, you cross paths.
Yeah, and it's lovely. Yeah, and it's fine. Yeah,
exactly. Can you wish someone well? Can you really wish someone well that you decide you don't want to continue to be in a relationship with, or or they're just, they're getting busy with a passion that isn't yours, and so all of a sudden they're, dancing 3 days a week, and they're, going to dance competitions, and you're like, it's just not my world.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, how is that wrong? Especially when people are following their passions or their interests or their spirituality, and it takes a different place. I have to tell you, I land that squarely on media, especially our television and movies. Why? Because drama sells.
Yeah.
Even in a comedy, there's drama. And the more dramatic, the better. The more, upset, and oh my God, I can't believe he said that, and she said that, and they did that. No. It's, and all of that, there has to be a protagonist and an antagonist, and then there has to be some, some resolution, and it's over and over and over more dramatized. I actually saw a film the other day, I would highly recommend. It's called The Hunt for the Wilder People. And it comes out of New Zealand. And I mean, I love European films. I haven't seen a New Zealand film before. I love European films because the sensibility is so different.
Mm-hmm.
There's no drama and there's no action. There's people having life and
Yeah.
exploring life, right? And the pace is different and the sensibility is different. And so this one did definitely have some action and some drama in it. But watching it with Karen, she was halfway through. She was like, are you liking this movie? I'm like, oh, I love this movie. And she said, well, the pacing's a little different. Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's the advent of soap operas, and then when soap operas went to nighttime television, and it became, and those people are in your living room, and you see them week after week, and you grow with them, and people have the false idea that's how people are supposed to behave. They're supposed to behave in all of that drama and upset. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And it's always about making somebody else wrong, or they didn't do it right, or, yeah, why not? I mean, there's that beautiful statement, people in our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Yeah.
Right. And why not make that beautiful?
Yeah.
And sure, we can miss somebody if they grow apart from us. We can miss them. We can say, oh, that's too bad. We can try to make a bridge if we can, or we can say, well, or we grow in a different direction. But yeah, it's that tendency to make everything so upsetting and dramatic. And it's that story you were talking about, Oscar, right? That then we start telling a story about it. And of course it hooks into our childhood story.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent a lot of years working on beginning to have drama-free relationships and drama-free changes in relationships, and but you can't always you can't dictate how another person is going to do it.
Right. Exactly.
Right. You can only do it how you're going to do it, and be loving and kind. I remember when my ex-husband and I got divorced, and my son was very, very young, and there was a lot of trauma in my ex-husband's life, and just there was, truthfully, he was doing the best he could. There was just there was no way that he could stay in the house. It was just impossible. And he would leave for long periods of time. And I finally said, look, if I'm going to be a single parent, I'm going to be a single parent. This is not going to work. And I said to him, you are going to be a great part-time dad. Your son is always only going to get the best of you. When you're there for the week, when he's there for the weekend, when he comes for a week or two in the summer, he's only going to get the best of you, because all of those deep traumatic wounds from your childhood, they won't be triggered. And it was really amazing not to be angry. I mean, I was disappointed. I was sad. I was, like, oh, now I'm a single parent with a 1-year-old. What the heck am I supposed to do now? But getting mad about it and making him wrong about it wasn't going to help. Wasn't going to help me or him or my son. And I wanted him to have a relationship with his dad. And I worked really hard to maintain that civility, and I worked really, really hard at that, and kept affirming, you're going to be a great part-time dad. And my son loved and worshiped his father until he was about a teenager. And then, unfortunately, some of those triggers did start getting pushed, and buttons really became a little more challenging. But he had a great relationship with his dad. And I could have raked his dad over the coals. What's the matter? You can't take care of your child. You said you were going to do this with me, blah, 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 blah. Who are you? All of which was of absolutely no value.
Yeah. Right.
And to try to really graciously let him go and say, there's another way you could do this that will actually work better. It was a lot of hard work, but it really made a difference in my son's life.
Yeah. Wow. Right. I think that's the hardest part, though, is when like when it's just like, oh, you're going apart, that's great, but when there is like actual something, there's actual conflict, that's when it gets so hard to let go and not start telling ourselves stories. Like, that's the hardest part. So like, how did you get to that point where you were able to like see it and not start narrating in your head? That's so difficult. How?
Yeah, it's a great question. I remember that every person is a child of God. And every person puts their pants on in the morning the same way I do. Every one of us has traumas and struggles. And every one of us is wrapped in the arms of love. And we're all on our path. I mean, I had to tell myself that over and over and over again. He's a radiant, magnificent being of love and light, just like I am. This is his path. And how does it make me feel better to make him feel worse? Right. I think that's a part of it. I hurt, therefore you should hurt.
Right.
I'm going to make you hurt. I'm going to make you feel my hurt by hurting you. Okay, so where's the love your neighbor as yourself in that? Where's the be love in that? Where's the recognition that, oh my God, you know what? I have hurt people. I have. I've been unconscious and unkind and stupid and hateful and all of those things over my life. Really? And I'm going to say, well, you can never be that. You're a terrible person because you're that in this moment. Well, I could just look in the mirror. Right. I'm sure I can find times when,
Absolutely.
I didn't go around shooting people and I didn't go around beating people, but certainly, I've had plenty of my own unconscious moments. Yeah. And I think for me, so yeah, I'll tell you a brief story. When I was in ministerial school, I put myself through ministerial school by getting a job at a securities and investment banking firm. And I was their office manager. And it was great. 9 to 5, close the door, done. Because I was in school 5 days a week, 5 nights a week and all weekend. And they paid me a decent wage. So that was great until I got there, and I'd been there for a few weeks. And I heard the rumors about one of the partners, nobody lasts, no woman in the office lasts longer than 6 months. This guy's a real piece of work. Male chauvinist and just a real piece of work. And I went, oh no, but I got to finish school. I got 2 more years to go. I need this job. Right. So after 2 or 3 times of going into my boss's office, there were 3 partners. He was another partner. He was my boss. He can't treat me like that. He can't speak to me like that. Just, oh my God. And I would cry and wail and my boss would be like, I know, but you're really good at what you got to do. Please don't leave. Could we give you a little more raise? What do we need to do? But, the guy's just an asshole, so just get over it. And so I thought, well, wait a minute. I'm in a spiritual teaching. Maybe I should use my spiritual principles. Good idea. Instead of just, wanting to ream him one and just, having all the judgment about and the way he treated his wife. Don't even get me started on the way he treated his wife. And I thought, we think we have it bad as the women in the office. And no woman was there longer than 6 months until I arrived. So then I thought, well, really, honest to God, I'm doing all this. I'm going to become a minister in spirituality. I better practice what I preach. So I began to manage. Every time he came towards my desk, I would imagine a little beautiful flame on his forehead. That way I didn't have to look into the eyes. I didn't have to look into his eyes. And I would look at his forehead and I would see the little flame and I would say, this is a child of God. He has a right to fuck up his life any way he chooses. He's still a child of God. He can do anything he wants with his life. He's a child of God. And that was my mantra. And then and I said it through gritted teeth, right? I said it through absolutely gritted teeth, right? And so then that went on for about a week and a half. And then I felt like maybe I could say that without so much gritted teeth. I began to go, wow, that's really, he's actually a child of God. Yeah, that's really true. I don't know what God was thinking, but it is actually true, right? So then I began imagining a golden light, right? A golden light from my heart to his. It didn't take 6 weeks. 6 weeks. He treated me differently than any other human being in that office. I was there 2.5 years. They gave me a going away party and he kissed me on my cheek at my going away party. And all the women that I hired all stayed. That's all I ever did. I just remembered who he was and I sent love. That's all I ever did. Changed everything. And that's the thing, right? Then I did that in ministerial school. And so that's what I did with my ex-husband. I remembered he's a child of God. He's doing the best he can. Really, honest to God, he is in doing the best he can. I wish it were different. I wish it were better. I wish it were different. I would wail and cry, be disappointed. Oh my God, I'm terrified. What am I going to do? Right. But that was the work with him to keep that, because it was really in service for my son. I didn't want to be one of those couples that tear their son apart because they can't speak civilly to each other.
Yeah.
Right. That's just irresponsible as far as I'm concerned. That's just so damaging to children. But it's the spiritual work that makes the difference.
Wow. So once you did that work, you noticed the way he spoke shifted, or the way you received it shifted?
Oh no, everything about it shifted. He spoke to me entirely differently.
Wow.
He was gracious to me. He said please and thank you. He checked in on my schedule. So do you have time to do this? Like, I really need it soon. Can you do it? As opposed to, I need this on my desk in an hour. You got to do it now. What, you mean you can't get it done now? Do you want this job? You better do this now. That was the original.
Wow.
I got these people coming in, and I'm sorry I didn't get it to you. Can you do it? Are you sure? Sure. You asked me like that. Of course, I'm going to bend over backwards to do it for you. I'm going to do everything I can to make right. But you can't stand in front of my desk. I'm going to go right back, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not aloud, but I'm sure going to do it energetically.
Right. Exactly.
And so yeah, I mean, that's what it means to live a spiritual life, right? That's what it means to bring our spirituality. Our spiritual practice isn't just the meditation cushion.
Yeah.
Right. It's in the midst of the throes of it, in the middle of it, when you really want to just ream someone out and you have to stop and breathe. Now, this does not mean you're a doormat. So no, absolutely not. I was doing that work to change the situation because I was not going to be a doormat.
Yeah.
I was not, but I was also clear that talking to him about it was not going to change anything. I had to do the soul level, right? You have to do that work at a soul level, the causal level. You can do it imaginatively. You can have conversations soul to soul. I've done that with people, just sitting and imagining my soul speaking to their soul and trying to really have a loving connection. And not trying to manipulate a change, but trying to shift the energy in the space.
Yeah.
And then change happens. But you see, I've changed first. I've decided to move into that path first, as opposed to, well, I'll be nice to you when you're nice to me.
Right, exactly. Oh, I love that you said you're not trying to manipulate a change. I think that's so important. Because it's very easy to be like, well, then... Yeah. Oh, I love that you said that. You're not trying to manipulate a change.
Because it doesn't always work. Some people are just jerks and they're going to stay jerks. And then we have to decide. I mean, if that had not worked, there would have been a time where I would have said, okay, I'm really done with this. I am going to have to go find another job because I will not be spoken to this way. But let me at least bring my spirituality to bear first instead of just making him wrong.
Right.
If I'm just making him wrong, I'm not doing any of my work.
Wow.
What do you think, Shakera? You're awfully quiet over there.
Yeah. What do you think?
I'm taking it all in because it does make a difference when I decide within myself what I'm going to change. Just like being the man in the mirror, the person in the mirror, it's really deciding in yourself. And that's what I'm hearing you say. What I'm hearing you say is I decided to be love so that love could emanate itself around me. And in that, you gave somebody else the freedom to be who they truly are. And so I think I'm just taking that all in. I think that's such a beautiful way to take that up, Petra.
Yeah.
As long as we don't make, I'm going to try to be love, I'm going to be nice. Right? I'm going to accept behavior. I mean, I was very engaged in directing the imaginative sense and the energy. You know what I mean? So, and that's where I think sometimes, well, I'm just going to be loving and therefore anything he does is okay. No. Anything he does isn't okay. Right. So yeah, thanks, Shakera. And so yeah, it's important, right? I think that's how we stay out of drama. We stay out of drama by kicking ourselves up into the 50,000 mile view, right? The universal view, the spiritual view. Really, truly, everybody is in fact doing the best they can, and what you're doing, that's not allowed in my space.
Right.
And I can do that lovingly. And I can either have a conversation, or I can simply grow apart.
Right.
Right. Or say, yeah, or just, let it be.
I think that's a really great point, is like the idea of boundaries and setting boundaries. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you, like, it's healthy, and it's normalizes as well to set boundaries.
Right.
And when those boundaries are crossed, to have a conversation. I thought we had a disagreement. It's been broken. Let's talk about it. Like, I completely agree with the boundaries thing, but so many people have such difficulty setting boundaries.
And people also have such difficulty having boundaries set around them.
Oh my God.
And so this is why we don't set boundaries, not because we can't set the boundaries, but because we don't want to deal with the reaction.
Yes.
Okay, Petra, we're blown.
My God.
So really, again, it's not them, it's us.
It's us.
Right? Because we don't want to suffer the consequences of what it means to be a strong person and say no, because we want to be nice. We want to be loved. We want to be accepted. We want people to like us, blah, 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 blah. So it's not that we can't it's not that we can't set boundaries, is that we don't want to experience the consequence of it and experience the reaction of it. Right. And so we do one of two things. We either don't set boundaries at all, or we become really an ass about setting boundaries.
Yeah.
Boom.
Right.
Boom. No. And I'm not, no, and that's, which doesn't work either.
Right.
Right. But we have to become powerful and strong and brave people. And let people have their unconscious moment and be all wigged out about the fact we set a boundary. Okay, that's them doing the best they can.
Yeah.
And we don't have to make a big drama story out of it.
Right.
We set a boundary and they didn't like it. I set a boundary. Oh, my little granddaughter. Oh, we had a day. No, you can't touch that. No, you're getting really, I love the way that you're exploring, but you got to look with your eyes, not with your hands. Oh, I had to say, I had to set boundaries for her 2 or 3 times, because usually whatever she's reaching for is something she can have. But she's now, she's standing up. So she's reaching for things that maybe she can't have, right? And all of a sudden she had like 3 no's, 3 boundaries. She did not like it. Sorry. Okay, Siri, you're the kid, I'm the adult. I get to say, you can't touch that, because if you touch it, it will probably break. So no, sorry. Yeah. Right. But if I can do that with her, she's not being wrong for having first crying because I said no. She was like, well, I wanted to. I get it that you wanted to. Okay. No, still no. Right. There's no energetic. Well, what are you? Did you not hear snow? What are you, stupid? Why would you do that? Did you know that that's going to break? You know that's going to break. No, she's 1. She does not know that's going to break. She doesn't even know what it is, which is, of course, why she wants to touch it, because she doesn't know what it is. So I'm teaching her, no, this is glass. It will break, so you can't, right? This is ceramic. So we look with our eyes, not with our hands. And soon I'll teach her how to stand with her hands held behind her back, just, and now you can look all you want. You can look all you want, right? You can see it, and you can, but you cannot touch it because it's breakable. But we don't like to have somebody say no to us, right? So when we set a boundary, we're saying no to somebody, and they're going to go, especially, given their emotional intelligence.
Right.
Okay. Oh I totally get that you don't like it.
You just blew my mind up. I'm going to rewatch this over and over again.
Can we revisit this conversation?
Sure.
That's so good.
This is a big one. Sure, you're onto a big one.
Yeah, this is a super big one, because now that you said that, that's so dead on about me that I'm like, oh my God. Now I got to go in and contemplate all of this.
Right. And let us remind ourselves we are in fact grown-ups.
Yeah.
We're not 1 or 2. We're actually grown-ups. And you know what? I had a friend of mine say to me one time, she said, disappointment is part of the spiritual path. Things, life says no. People say no, you're going to break it. You can't, no. I mean, okay.
Right.
And we're like, that's when we have our temper tantrums. So, and I think, and let me just say one more thing, and then I do have to go, so we have to close.
Yeah.
Let me just say one more thing. It's also a manipulative tactic. somebody who's constantly having a temper tantrum every time you set a boundary or say no, they're deliberately making it difficult for you to set boundaries because they don't want you to.
We have to revisit this one. This is too damn good.
Yes.
That.
Oh
my god.
It is a manipulative tactic that people do. They learned it from their parents. Who learned it from their parents. They're not necessarily conscious of it. They're not doing it maliciously, right? Just like I don't do the things that I do when I'm unconscious maliciously. I wake up and I'm embarrassed and I, get out of autopilot and I have to go make amends. Yeah. They're not doing it on purpose to manipulate necessarily. I mean, there are a few people that are, but mostly. And so we just have to be able to see that. And we are grown ass people, for God's sakes. We have to be brave and courageous.
I'm obsessed with this conversation. This is so helpful and so powerful. Holy crap, you guys. So we gotta close it here because that's the hour. But listen, we only have, one episode left next week? I
think so. Yes, it'll be our finale.
Next week is our season 1 finale. Season 1 means there's a season 2. So don't worry, we're coming back. It's been renewed. We're gonna do it. We've decided we're renewing ourselves.
We're renewing ourselves.
We're not canceling this. We're renewing ourselves. So season 2 will be coming, and we're talking about in September. So look out for new promos and perhaps a new format and just fun little changes we're gonna do. It's gonna be epic. So before we even get into that, just know that next week is our season finale, so don't miss it. Tell your friends, come join us. Let's hang out together next Tuesday at 1 p.m. You guys are so amazing. Thank you for hanging out with us. Love you.